Well, hello everybody. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. We have been doing this show, I think we're past like 76 episodes already. So, why are you late to the game? But if you're here, and I welcome you. So, this is the web series where we like to talk that real talk. We like to talk about things that are steamy. We tend to focus on certain certain topics. So we tend to focus on families, children, youth. We tend to talk about education, disabilities, finances. We've done episodes on, being a child of divorce. What else? Financial literacy, being deaf. So we definitely cover. We had an episode on being a virtual assistant and what that entails. So we definitely cover a lot of ground. And this is the show where we like to take those things that people don't really say out loud, and we say those things out loud, pretty much. So this is the show where we do that. And before we get to my guest, I'm going to say the name of the episode. The name of the episode is ADHD, My Creative Ability. So if you have watched like maybe the past 10 or 11 episodes, we have done a I don't want to say a ridiculous amount, but we've done a lot of episodes on ADHD. I don't know what happened, but March 2022 seems to be ADHD month here at Hot Topics. So we've been talking about ADHD for several episodes now, and today is no different. And um, we want to put this out there for you guys to be aware of and to ask questions and to express your concerns. And, this show look at it as an educational tool. We educate you and we entertain you at the same time. So we are continuing our discussion of ADHD, and I have a returning guest. She is returning to the hot seat, and I can't wait to tell you about her. Her name is Dr. Nerissa Bauer, and she is going to put herself out there, and she's going to take the heat once again. So, with that said, let's get right to it. Who is Dr. Nerissa Bauer? I am going to remind you about who she is. So, Dr. Nerissa Bauer is a behavioral pediatrician and entrepreneur in Carmel, Indiana. She left academia in December 2018 after burnout. She has a part time behavioral health practice. She created Teach Me ADHD, an online course for families, is the host of the Let's Talk Kids Health live show on behavioral health and parenting, and CEO of Let's Talk Health Kids LLC. She is also the spokesperson for the American Academy of Pediatrics. Beautiful. All right, so let's get right to it. I'm going to bring Dr. Bauer on camera right now. Hey there, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back.
Yes, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the hot seat. All right, so let's do this. So, ADHD, my creative ability. Last time we talked about what is ADHD, and today we're here to talk about you. All
Yes.
right. All right, so let's get right to it. So where should we start? Where do you want to start?
Well, maybe from the fact that I will just start by saying, I recently just got diagnosed formally as having ADHD myself. And I think that's such an interesting thing because here I am, a behavioral pediatrician. I help kids who think and learn differently, who have ADHD, forever. And now I have the formal diagnosis at the age of 47. So,
All
there you
right.
go. I
There we
mean,
go.
yeah.
Let's talk about it. So take us on a story. Take us on a journey. Tell us from the beginning. You know what led you to get evaluated, all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it started with a couple things. I mean, I kind of had a suspicion for a while, and it wasn't really until when I left academia back in 2018 that I didn't realize how much that structure really helped me. You know, I think through life, I just sort of got through because I was able to figure out workarounds for things that I needed to do. And with ADHD, oftentimes you really need to have that structure in place, the deadlines, the different the deadlines that I had in place to write grants, have meetings, all these things. When that went away, and then I took the leap to start my own practice and then do my own online business, I didn't realize how much I needed that structure until it was gone. So, things like, losing things to get out of the house. Like, I didn't know where I would leave them. I live by this thing because I can never find my phone or can never find anything that I need, like my car keys, because everything has to have its place. I also found out that, I really needed to have a system for like mail, things just so that I wouldn't let it pile up and I wouldn't miss bills, right? But, those kinds of things were starting to happen. And then, I just realized that, there was something else going on. I was struggling. Um, with sleep. And I realized very quickly that I needed to attend probably to the snagging feeling um, to just have it checked out. And, I think it comes to a head, right? And I turned to someone who I trust and who's a psychologist and kind of ran the situation by her. And she went ahead and we went ahead and got me scheduled for some formal testing. And that's how it came to be. I mean, I sort of just had this idea and decided, well, now is the time to investigate that. And I'm really glad that I did.
Awesome. So I find it interesting that, you work with kids with ADHD, but but you weren't diagnosed until recently. So, was tell us about that connection.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, to make the diagnosis, you have to have, there's the strict criteria in which to make the diagnosis, including having the presence of symptoms, especially for kids before the age of 7, but for adults, that's pushed until I believe 11 or 12. But, there has to be an ongoing history of struggles. And so um, the psychologist asked me specific questions. I started the process out by filling out an adult ADHD screening form, which is very typical, like whether you're a child or a teenager or an adult, you'll start with a screening form, which is just a bunch of validated questions, and you'll answer kind of this your frequency of symptoms, and then that will help give us or give whoever is doing the evaluation a beginning point to discern, oh, is the likelihood of ADHD high or not? And then, because it was high, then we proceeded with the formal testing. And so I think it's really just interesting because my journey reflects one that I think a lot of my families go through. I often will see kids and make the diagnosis for children or teens. And then as the family's learning more and more about ADHD and what it is and what it isn't, I'll have some parents like say, oh, wait, that sounds a lot like me, or I kind of do that too. And it's not surprising because ADHD is highly heritable, and there's a 1 in 4 chance that one of the parents will have ADHD if a child has ADHD. And so we tend to find out uh, a very common story that some of the parents will say, I'm actually wondering if I have ADHD too. And so I, kind of encourage families as they're learning about it to go down that path, because then it can help the whole family work together, because as we know, ADHD individuals, they just think and learn a little bit differently, and there's things that we're all working on regardless of ADHD or not, and it's just helpful to sort of have that knowledge, so that way when you approach a situation either with your child or your partner or a coworker, you at least have some sense of what your strengths and limitations are when you go into that interaction.
Hmm. So let's bring it back to the moment when you received the diagnosis. Well, before I ask you that, so I mean, you are a clinician yourself. So
Mhm.
where where did you go to be evaluated?
Yes, I'm a clinician myself. And I was going to add too, before I answer that, it just reminds me of the fact that, ADHD in girls and women present very differently than in boys a lot of times. Um, you know, Girls can be missed. They can be diagnosed late because a lot of girls tend to have perfectionism. They're eager to please, so they can figure out ways to sort of mask these symptoms either at school or at work. And so, you know, again, I think it's a topic that it was already near and dear to my heart, and I'm sort of relearning about ADHD, but from an adult perspective now, and I'm embracing it. I mean, I think it's not something to hide. And sometimes people say ADHD is a disability, but I actually would counter that and say it's not a disability. It's actually a unique ability. And I think a lot of people who are creative, think outside the box. Those are some skills that a lot of individuals who have ADHD often have. As far as like where I went for formal testing, I mean, sometimes myself, I went through a psychologist. And so what that entailed was having an intake interview so that she could collect historical data about my childhood, schooling, effect on relationships, all the important things that you need to document. And then after that, a separate testing appointment for about 2 hours, where she'll do a bunch of different tasks related to testing your IQ and achievement, you know, testing your working memory, which is something that individuals with ADHD struggle with, and really taxing your brain for that 2 hours, going through a lot of different tasks and subtests to see how well you can focus and concentrate and other things. But I underwent that, and then 2 weeks later met with her again to review the results.
Hmm. So how come you didn't just evaluate yourself?
Oh, no. So first of all, the formal testing is done by a psychologist, not a behavioral pediatrician. And especially for adults, I think it was really important for me to kind of be the patient in this situation rather than a clinician. I mean, obviously, I knew why she was asking me to do certain tasks and things like that. But in this situation, I really wanted to just be the patient.
So did you know her personally? Was she new to you?
I did know her personally, and I trusted her. I know she does a good job, and clearly we had a discussion about that first before we entered into that formal agreement. If she would feel comfortable doing the testing for me. So, but yes, we discussed it, and I fully trusted her.
All right. So take us to that moment. So now I'll ask my question. So now take us to that moment now. It's in your hands. You have the diagnosis. How are you feeling? What what are you thinking?
Well, so um, First and foremost, I felt pretty relieved. I mean, I kind of had this inkling that it would be the way it was and that I would get the diagnosis. But there was a part of me that actually, it was surprising because when I was talking to my husband afterwards and he was, I was sharing with him what the results were, I actually kind of got teary a little bit. I mean, I just kind of had to process that. And it was kind of, I think, relief for me because I have this history of struggling. I always kind of felt like I had to study a lot harder than everybody else. I was always the person who had to record all the lectures and then review them again, make flashcards, go through it all over. And there were other people, including my husband, who in medical school and residency training just seemed to get stuff, So I just always felt like I always had to try a little bit harder and work really hard um, to do to do those things. And so um, I was not going to lie. I mean, I felt very relieved, and a little part of me was sort of just kind of reconciling the fact that it took so long to have the diagnosis. But mostly, I was excited because finally I knew, it explained a lot of different things, and I was much more kind of interested in then kind of putting my own team together. I talk to the families of kids with ADHD who I treat in my practice as well as, the ones that I'm educating in my class. We talk a lot about the importance of building your team. And it's really important to do that. I mean, pills don't teach skills, and it's really important to recognize and acknowledge where you're struggling, what challenges you have, and learning what systems you need to put in place because you can thrive even though you have ADHD. And that's really been my mission to talk with families about. And I'm just really appreciating it from this side, with me being a patient this time, having to learn how to work with my brain.
So it's like you work with your patients, and so now you are the patient. So now it's like you know what it's like to receive the information, to be on the other side.
Yes.
You can empathize with your clients.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel a little bit, as a physician, being a patient, and when I see other physicians or specialists, I always try to tell them, like, treat me like a patient. Like, I do not want you to treat me like a colleague. Because I think it's really important to do that. And whenever I have families who I see where one or both of the parents are physicians, I do the same too because it doesn't matter who you are. This is happening to you. It is a lived experience. And even though I may have all that knowledge, it's different, right? When it's your own lived experience in your personal life, and you may know rationally what you need to do, but in the moment, it can be really different or difficult, right? So, we have to acknowledge that. And whenever I do my classes with families as well, I mean, I have a large subset of professionals who are parents of kids with ADHD in my class, and they love the fact that I don't necessarily talk to them differently than I would any other parent because again, we are all humans, and even though you might know the information, when you try to apply it in your own life, it's a little bit more tricky, and so you need guidance along the way.
So what is your treatment plan now? I mean, you're the one administering treatment plans. So what is your treatment plan?
Yeah, my treatment plan. Well, obviously the five pillars are medication. So working through that with my own psychiatrist, including potentially some supplements as well, but then also looking at like, other modalities for just improving my mood and concentration. Sleep is so important, and I am a terrible sleeper. I have nights where I just kind of wake up in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep because my mind is racing, or I just have a hard time like getting to sleep at a routine time because like I will be working and then get so hyper focused and then all of a sudden look up and it's like 11:30 at night. And I'm like, oh gosh, I need to go to bed. So, and that's part of it, right? I mean, that hyper focus of ADHD, like you get so engrossed in something and then all of a sudden like time just melts away. So recognizing that and working with that is really important. I think focusing on self-care, getting back in the routine of exercise, which I'm guilty. Like I do it and then I get bored with it and then fall off. So again, trying to get myself motivated to just, do what I need to do to stay physically active. And then also doing, just the important stuff of educating myself, getting systems in place so that way I can feel productive and not have those days where I feel busy but not actually get stuff done.
Hmm. So, so I mean, you're aware of the I guess the symptoms of your ADHD and your behavioral patterns. So, what does this mean now that you put a label on it? Are things going to change? Are you going to stay the same? What's going to change, if at all?
Well, I do hope that things will change, I mean, especially the things that are challenges for me. I am now on a path of self-discovery about what, and looking at it from a new lens, right? I mean, I think before, staying up and being able to stay up until 2, 3 in the morning writing grants in my former job, like that was great. Like I would get hyper focused and work and kind of just do it and then be able to just go to bed and wake up and kind of do that if I needed to. But I know now, and I'm looking back at some of those patterns and trends and really trying to be a little bit more explicit in protecting my sleep and protecting kind of the things that I need to do that I know that can help boost my brain functioning and just make me much more able to get stuff done, right? So sometimes I have projects and things, as an entrepreneur, my mind is always going. And now I try to write down all of these ideas and kind of file them away. Because if I don't, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And I will just have this feel. I remember having like a lot of great feelings about like, oh my gosh, these are exciting. I need to start doing it. And then all of a sudden I'd either get super overwhelmed and not be able to start anything, or be like, wait a second, what was that? I was thinking about it last night when I was going to bed, and then now it's just kind of lost. I knew there was a great idea, but I can't remember it. So, like different strategies as I realize, like, oh, this is kind of just how my brain is working. I need to learn how to work with my brain, putting in place, again, those systems so that I can harness that awesome creative ability and be able to strike when the motivation is there to just get the work done.
Mm. So now I'm wondering if you're going to, let's say, if you don't accomplish something or you find yourself getting overwhelmed, are you going to blame your ADHD more? Are you going to say, oh, it's that ADHD again? Are you going to put it, do you have a scapegoat now? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, yeah, good question. Well, yes and no. So I will acknowledge that yes, my shortcoming is from ADHD, but I'm going to own it and figure out a different way to move forward. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think that's the biggest thing when we educate kids, adults, teenagers about ADHD, having them learn how to reflect on, maybe a shortcoming or something that they just can't do yet, but they will be. They just have to learn how to practice that skill and do it with intention. And that's what is really about the class that I've developed, the All Deeds Help Detective Agency, because in my class we talk about what deeds are, and the way that I define it, it's performing an action intentionally. And so during the class, we practice deeds, which help flex our brain muscles to build new brain connections. But then you have to be intentional about working with your brain. So that way, again, it doesn't become an excuse. It's just that you have to learn how to work with it in a different way. So again, I think knowledge is power. And yes, there are going to be days where I get overwhelmed And I just kind of give myself permission to feel that, but then figuring out, okay, well, I've got to get this done. So this is how I need to do it. I need to break it down. I need to, kind of make it in manageable chunks. I need to learn how to, like, what I have to do on Sunday is look at my calendar and like actually write it out on a dry erase board so I can kind of visually see the things and the different tasks, pick out and prioritize the things that I need to do to get it done. And then also sort of just limit it to like the top 2 or 3 things so I don't get overwhelmed. So those are some of the things that I've done in the past, but now I realize I absolutely need to do this all the time.
Fabulous, fabulous. All right. Watching the clock now. So, any any quick words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
Well, so if you're an adult and you're questioning or you've wondered if you have ADHD, I would absolutely say if you have any question, start by talking to your primary care provider. Oftentimes they can give you the adult screener to get that started. And then, for some people, you don't necessarily have to go beyond that and actually get formal testing, but you can make that decision with your primary care provider. Oftentimes, primary care providers can start medication for ADHD. So you just kind of have to think through that with your team. So that's one. And then two, if you want to learn more, make sure you check out reputable resources. So some of my favorite ones are Attitude Magazine, ADD, not ATT, ADD. And they have free expert webinars that cover the gamut of ADHD and living with ADHD, not just for kids, but for parents and adults. So it's fascinating. And then also, Edward Hallowell, he's a psychiatrist who also has dyslexia and New York Times bestselling author. I've interviewed him on my parenting book club. He has great books about ADHD. He also has a great podcast. So, there are resources out there so that way you can learn about ADHD and learn strategies to thrive.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Dr. Bauer. All right, let's make sure we get this in. So, you guys, you heard all that information, and I encourage you to reach out to her. So, her contact information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. So, definitely follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest and YouTube and LinkedIn. Definitely follow her on all those platforms. And she has a website, let's talk kidshealth.org. So if you have any questions, concerns after listening today, maybe this something just kind of came up for you, definitely reach out to her. So her contact information is scrolling below. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, it will also be provided in the description. All right, Dr. Bauer, I know you got to go. I won't keep you. So thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure, and I loved being on your show on the hot seat, so to speak. Thank you for being kind to me, and thank you for raising awareness. I heard you say in the introduction that it just happened that there was a lot of episodes about ADHD, and I think it's so important to just talk about it because it's not something to be ashamed about. So please, please, if you have any questions, reach out to me. But thank you for doing the work that you do.
You're welcome. All right, so I will let you go. Thank you, Dr. Bauer. And you guys, okay, I'll just jump to wait, I just want to make this last quick thing before I close. All right, I'm just going to put her information back up. Um, so again, I encourage you to reach out to Dr. Bauer if you have any questions about ADHD for children and adults. And I encourage you to seek her services. She does provide one-on-one consultation services, and I believe she also provides any advice that you may need and referral resources. So everything you need to know is on her website, which is scrolling below, letstalkkidshealth.org. And again, she is all over social media. So I encourage you to check out all of that information. And I'm just going to leave it scrolling, but I will give a quick PSA in that if you suspect your child of showing any symptoms of ADHD, or you yourself, you're questioning your symptoms, you have that inkling feeling, I definitely encourage you to get evaluated. There is no shame in it. So talk to your doctor, um, talk to a psychiatrist, a neuropsychologist, um, and there's also universities that are offering free testing. And it's graduate students testing you, under a supervisor, of course, but you could also go that route. So I encourage you to, get evaluated. There is no shame in it. All right, and that's the end of my PSA. And I'm gonna put up my banner here. And we have reached the conclusion of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, wherever you are watching this episode, whatever platform, whether that is um, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, maybe Instagram, wherever you are watching this platform, please check out our other episodes for more videos and clips. And don't forget to follow us. Our information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. And I encourage you to follow all of our accounts on social media. So definitely, stay on top of us and stay in touch with us as well. And let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a comment in the comment section below or in the comment thread. And as a reminder, this web series is a production of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you would like to learn more about our company, our services, workshops, hot topics, if you want to learn more about our company and what we're about and what we have to offer, please contact us. Again, our information is scrolling below, so check that out. And I will say our website, it is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. So definitely check us out online or hit us up on social media. And I will advise you to sign up for our email list and our texting list. You will receive exclusive access to promotions, discounts, and any special events that we have. So I encourage you to sign up for our email list and our texting list. That information is also scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. And for those of you watching this on Facebook, it is also provided in the description. Okay, and I will share this final message before we officially close.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider making a donation to our company. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, put on productions like this web series, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. Note: we're a for-profit company. We're not a charity. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
All right, you guys, thank you for joining us today. I, Gabrielle, look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Thank you for joining us. And now I am signing off.